Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at our 1972 Datsun 240K, otherwise known as a Nissan C110 Skyline. That was the Japanese version, but this is the Australian delivered version, so it's a Datsun 240K. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because we're going to be doing this car up for the next few months. And so today we're going to be just looking at how the car is running, but at the end of the video we're also going to be buying a couple bits and pieces for the car, so make sure you stick around to the end and subscribe if you want to follow this build as we complete it over the next few months. It's not running perfectly. It has a little bit of an issue on a cold start, and we think that's something to do with the spark plugs that we're using. They're not actually the perfect spark plugs for this car. They're not intended to be used in this car. They're just very similar to the 240K spark plugs, and we had them lying around, so we put those in while we were getting the car running. When we bought the car, it was running really rough, and it's still not running perfect, but once it's warmed up, it's running a lot better than on the cold start. As you can see, when the car is cold started, there's quite a lot of black smoke coming out of the exhaust and some sludge dripping from the exhaust as well. So we think that might be a problem with the spark plugs, but maybe also a problem with the choke. We don't think the choke is operating correctly. So we're just going to be taking a look at that today and showing you exactly how that's going. So once the car's warmed up for a few minutes, it seems to run perfectly. So it's just that cold start issue. We're not 100% sure what that is. So if you have any experience with that and you have an idea, maybe put that down in the comments so we might be able to figure out what's wrong with that. But we have a suspicion that it could be the choke or the spark plugs. So once the car's actually warmed up and it's at operating temperature, it starts to sound like this, which is really nice. It sounds like it's running correctly. So it's really just the cold start that's the problem. And as you can see, it's really smoky on startup. So maybe it'll just require us to change the spark plugs, maybe it'll just require us to fix the choke, or it might even require us to do a full engine refresh. We're not really sure yet. But if it comes to that, you know, we'll probably end up doing a full engine refresh.
Yep, it's nice. Yeah. Sounds nice. Yeah.
So now let's pop the bonnet and have a look at how it sounds from the engine bay. So now the car's all nice and warmed up, you'll see that the engine runs really smoothly. There's no knocking or ticking or anything like that, so we're really happy with how it's sounding once the car's warm. So it sounded really nice as well with that rev. There was nothing really standing out to us. So it's all good really here. It's all running smooth as butter as far as we can tell. Alright, so let's put the bonnet back down now, and I want to show you a couple of little things, a couple of little details that are going to make the car a little bit cleaner. Just a couple things to improve the overall look of the car. We've got a couple of bits and pieces missing. So the first thing is there's a little reflector on the back of the car. There's two reflectors actually. There's one on the left and one on the right. The one on the right has gone missing, so we've ordered a replacement for that, a genuine replacement reflector. So we just need to stick that back on and we'll have both reflectors on the rear of the car. So the reflector that we've got as a replacement, that's a genuine one from another 240K, and so it's really old, it's not in perfect condition, so we're going to have to do a little bit of work to it to fix it back up. And lucky for us, we didn't know this, but the left and the right reflector are left and right specific. They're not exactly the same, but fortunately we were able to get a right reflector just as a bit of luck. We didn't realize that when we ordered it, but it is the correct one. So we're just gonna have to fix that up a little bit and attach that to the car and everything will be correct. Another thing that we're really excited about is this genuine 240K GT badge that we found inside the car. We didn't actually know this badge came with the car, but we found it in the glove compartment, and it is just such a rare piece for this car. The Datsun 240K was rebadged in Australia to the GL. Even the GT version was rebadged to the GL for insurance purposes. The GT cars were more expensive for insurance, so all of the early GT models of this 240K were rebadged to GL. So finding a 240K GT badge is just astonishingly rare, and we have one of those, so we're really pleased that we have one of those, but we do need to find another one because there's a badge at the front of the car and there's a badge at the rear of the car, and we'd like to have 240K GT badges on the front and rear. We just think that would be so cool because it's just such a rare badge. We're very fortunate that we found one of those badges in the car. As you can see, the badge is looking pretty rough, and we're not really sure how we should clean it up. So if you have any recommendations on how you think would be the best way to clean this badge up and make it look nice and fresh, please let us know in the comments, because we don't really know how to go about that. So the next thing that we're really keen on doing is lowering the car. As you can see, there is a massive gap between the guard and the wheel, and we think it would look a lot better about 30, maybe 40 millimeters lower. You can see here I can almost fit my head in between the wheel and the guard, and that's just way too big of a gap. We can make the car look a lot better just by lowering it about 30 millimeters, we think. And then it will kind of match the rear of the car. We think the car will look a lot better with some new shocks and new springs. So stay tuned to the end of the video where we're actually going to buy some new shocks and springs to suit our plan of lowering the car. We can see here that the shocks and the springs have been replaced at some point, but we're really not happy with the height of them, so we're going to replace the shocks and the springs. We were doing our research on lowering the car, and everyone was saying if you're going to do the springs, you should do the shocks as well, have everything match up, do the job the right way. So we're going to do shocks and springs at the same time. We're really happy with the fitment of the rear wheels. We think that the height of the suspension is just right, so we're trying to replicate something similar to that on the front. We're thinking maybe 30 millimeters or 40 millimeters will be the right drop. We don't think the front will get quite as low as the rear. It would probably still be a little bit higher, but something approximating the rear, everything will be kind of the same height. We think that'll look really good. So the next thing that we'd like to look at is the carpet. And this is probably the filthiest part of the car, but luckily we can get a replacement carpet for pretty cheap. And the floor mats here in the front have been stuck down to the already filthy, probably original carpet that came with the car. So it's time to replace this carpet. We can make it look really nice if we get a brand new carpet, and they're really not that expensive. As you can see in the back, it's pretty nasty back here, and if you pull the carpet back, you can just see the insulation. So this is something that could really improve the interior of the car. It'll make it feel like a brand new car with the carpet replaced in here. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Lucky for us, on eBay, there are a ton of options for carpets. Different colors, different thicknesses, things like that. So we had a bit of a browse through a few different options that we had on eBay. There was one company that does a whole range of different carpets. They do thick carpets, thin carpets. They do carpets made out of vinyl, all different kinds of colors to choose from. So this is the super plush carpet, sorry, the loop carpet, which is one of the thickest carpets they do, and you can see all the different colors they have on offer here. So we're going to leave that decision to you, the viewers. Tell us what color you think would be the best in the Datsun. I personally like the dark blue color, but the green and the turquoise colors, I think they're both really nice as well. But you tell us what you think. We'll listen to what you guys have to say, and then we'll make a decision based on what everyone thinks would be the best color of carpet. So the next and final thing that we're going to be buying for the Datsun today is some lowered springs and some shocks to suit. KYB is a great brand. We've used them before in our other cars, and so are King Springs. So we're going with a brand that we know. Now, these King Springs for the Datsun 240K are 30 millimeters lower. We were looking for 40 millimeters lower because we thought that would be perfect, but we had a look in the King Springs catalog, and actually they don't manufacture 40 millimeter lower springs anymore. Maybe they did in the past, but they're not in the catalog anymore. So the maximum lowness that we can get from upgrading these springs is 30 millimeters, and we think that's probably enough. We don't want to go too crazy with it and risk scraping the guards on the tires or anything like that, so it's better safe than sorry. We'll just get 30 millimeters, and that will be significantly lower. And as you can see here, the super lows, that would be the 40 to 50 millimeters, but they just don't manufacture those anymore, so that's fine. 30 millimeters is what we're going to go for. So we noticed that the shocks and springs that were already in the car, they seem to have been replaced already, but we're really not sure of the condition of the shocks. So we're going to go ahead and get shocks and springs at the same time, just so that we know that everything is brand new, everything is in great condition, so there's no nasty surprises when we change the springs if the shocks are not in the condition that we expect them to be. Another thing that you might have noticed in the engine bay is that the oil filter is looking pretty old and crusty. We're not sure when the last time that was replaced, so we've gone ahead and we've bought another oil filter that we're going to be putting on the car along with an oil change just to freshen that up, because that's looking pretty old and rusty. So here's this nice new clean one that we've bought, so that should look very nice. If anything, just make the engine bay look a lot cleaner and hopefully filter the oil a lot nicer and help the car run a lot nicer. So that is what we're going to be doing with the Datsun over the next couple of days. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to see about the Datsun, or if you have any suggestions of what we should be doing with the car. We always love to hear about what you think about the car and about the build, and make sure you subscribe so that you can keep up with what we're doing with the car. There's a lot of exciting things we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. We've got the springs, we've got the oil change, we've got the carpet coming in, and we're also going to be looking at giving the car the respray that it deserves, because the paint is looking very tired, and we really think the car would look absolutely amazing with another respray in the factory blue color, so that it's taken back to what it would look like straight out of the factory back in its prime. So thanks very much for watching, and please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video.